It really hit me about halfway through Natalia's talk that seems to be a pattern here. It's not something, I didn't rehearse this part, but just like, that's what really struck me was that, man, like, I don't know what you all thought of us the first time that you saw or laid your eyes on us, what preconceived notions, we all do it, but it's just like, you heard 3 powerful stories, and I can almost guarantee you that each one of you has your own version of that story, just with different details. And that's a very interesting pattern. It tells me it's by design. It tells me that seems to be the theme of this life, right? No matter where you're at on your spiritual journey, if you have one at all, just looking at it very like factually, you can see that pattern, you can see that connection that we do all have, that we all that unifies us all. And that really kind of brings me into why expansion coach. What is that, right? Why? Well, a core belief of mine is that anything that's living, humans, plants, these trees out here, is in a natural state of expansion. I think that literally anything that's alive, you could look at it from a scientific standpoint and say on some level it's expanding, whether that's internally or externally. That being said, there are times in our lives where that expansion gets stagnant or we're stuck. But the world, time, all keep expanding, and when we freeze and we get stagnant and stuck, and all the other energies keep moving, right? Emotions are just energies in motion, and when the ones inside of us get stuck and the outer world keeps expanding, it creates this tension point because we're not in flow with that. We're not in that natural flow of expansion. And so when you're in that tension point, life gets kind of uncomfortable, right? That's worth stress. That's stress. That is stress. The farther you are from that natural point of your soul's expansion is how much stress you were feeling. And it's just it's important, like Natalia said, it's important for us to look at these things. And it's so funny because in my journey and in what I do in guiding people through their own version of expansion, I've learned one of the biggest tools that we can use is our emotions. It's finding that reflection of the energy outside of us that lies within us and using that as a compass. And I laugh when I hear myself say that because even just 5 years ago, or even less than that, if you had told me that I'd be standing on a stage talking about emotional integration, like you had 3 heads, right? What? Because I don't know about you all, but I grew up in a world that believed or viewed emotional pain as bad, as wrong, as an illness or a disease or it's just something to be bad, right? It was the enemy. Emotional pain was viewed as a bad thing. Just think positive, right? Just look on the bright side. Suck it up, man up, right? Just man up. Men aren't supposed to cry. That was. I think we're coming into a different world now, but that the echoes of the past still kind of resonate within us all, at least at a certain age, and so what's interesting about that is, I've learned that it's these avoided emotions that are actually the catalyst for the more that you want in life. So, what do you want more of? It's a good place to start. Anyone, what do you desire? What do you want more of in your life?
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Peace. Love, peace, love, health, connection. These are all very higher desires. I told you this is an enlightening bunch. How about money? More money?
Stability.
Stability?
More time.
More time?
Self-time, like self-love time.
Yes. Yes. More wholeness. The more peace, the more love, the more connection, and the more money that you want in your life is laying dormant in the emotional pain you're avoiding. Okay? I'm going to say it again. The more what you want most out of life is laying dormant, waiting for you in the emotional pain that you are avoiding. How does that feel? Am I coming church? Right? Like, how do you feel? Like, how does that statement make you feel?
Well,
Scared.
it is true, though. I mean, it really is true.
Thank you for saying that, because I heard scared over here,
It's
and
true.
you heard truth in it too.
Yeah.
It's empowering, but also scares the shit out of us, right? And that is the sweet spot. That's I really want you to pay attention to this, because like if you don't take anything else, take this away. When you feel something calling you that is both scary but kind of empowering at the same time, that is the fertile soil of growth. That's where it happens. That's where, if you lean into that and follow those breadcrumbs, that's what's going to lead you to your biggest, best, most fulfilling life. Okay?
It's the inner work.
It is. And I just gave you, I want this to sink in because this is a lot. This has had a lot to process, but I just gave you the key to finding and unlocking your life's biggest desire. Only catch is we have to then, in order to get there, we have to follow the breadcrumbs of our emotions. Okay, so why do we avoid these emotions?
It's a visceral experience.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. It's painful. Yeah. Yeah, I
Can be
mean,
dangerously misunderstood.
yes. Yes. And I know we're focusing, I just feel like I need to say this, I know we're focusing a lot on, the shadow side of emotions. Now there can be good, there's also good emotions, right? We mentioned joy, we mentioned peace and all that. So they're all just two sides of the same coin. And that's how you get from one to the other. It's because it's all in the same coin. So passing through that coin, your peace lies within your fear. Okay? Your more money, your financial freedom lies on the other side of your fear. And we avoid, you can't really, we avoid these emotions because they're painful. But pain isn't the enemy. Pain is a moment in time. But what the true enemy is the denial of that pain. And that's suffering. Okay? When you stub your toe, it hurts. It's painful, right? You kick, oh! You don't have a choice but to feel it.
Yeah.
You're feeling it. You're experiencing that pain. Oh! And then what happens?
He's always been dramatic.
What happens?
Goes away.
It goes away, right? Within a couple minutes. I mean, sometimes they're pretty bad, but I mean, you can really whack the heck out of it, and then 3 minutes later, you forget that it happened because you felt the pain, and you let that emotion, you let that energy move through. You didn't hold on to it. What happens if you ignore a physical injury? Disability, right? When you ignore a physical injury, that might not be as acute as a stubbed toe, Might not even notice it at first. But the more you ignore that physical injury, you will become disabled. And the same happens with emotions, right? You avoiding emotional pain long enough, you will be emotionally disabled. And I say that because I was. That denial of emotional pain split up my family and effectively ended my childhood at about the age of 10. And what happened is, what I saw, I say it ended my childhood, and that sounds dramatic, but from a 10-year-old standpoint, that stability, that state, that kind of just like everything was going good, right? And then it all crumbles down because all of a sudden uncomfortable emotions came up. Life gives us these experiences, and emotions are just a feeling response to the experiences we have in life. We're not these feelings. We're not these experiences. That's why I call them breadcrumbs. It's just a response to that. And so when those emotional responses came up in our family, what did I see? I saw rejection. I saw judgment. This is rocking the boat. This is this is what I'm perceiving, right? And so I saw emotions at that age because I didn't have the tools and strategies that we've talked about. I saw emotions as the reason why all that came falling down. And so what I did the best I could. I retreated into the depths of my mind, and I relied very heavily on intellectualism and logic and reason, rationalizing everything because it felt safer. It was predictable. It gave me an edge. But what I didn't realize was, and it also protected me. It protected me from, if I show emotion, maybe I'll get rejected, right? Or maybe I'll be judged. And so what I didn't realize was that I had disconnected myself from my heart. And the heart is where their inner child lives. So ability to really understand, beyond just a intellectual standpoint, what is joy? What is peace? What is stability? What is love and connection? There was a disconnect. And so that began my journey. And then fast forward through many mountains. Not too long ago, we were on vacation, and some uncomfortable emotions came up. Honestly, I still can't tell you why. Maybe because so we could have this conversation. But at the time, I didn't know. I was just like, I feel anxiety. I feel fear. Like, whoa, what is this? And in the past, usually on vacation time, it was a time of just this manic, FOMO. So the fear was it's we gotta see all the things and eat all the food and do all the thing. And then what happens on the end of it, you're just exhausted and kind of just burned out and need a vacation after your vacation, that sort of thing. But this time I did it differently. I decided to just sit in those uncomfortable emotions and get curious, asking questions blessed to have a partner like Lauren who could hold the safe space and just be vulnerable and feel those emotions and just like the stub toe, let it pass through. And one night where we typically would have just gone to 2 or 3 restaurants for dinner.
At least.
Get the most out of it,
Tiny meals of each.
We stayed in, and we cooked a very, it was a great meal, but it was just simple. And instead, we called it, just spend some time connecting on the couch and sharing those emotions. And what happened was I chose a different strategy, and instead of seeking fulfillment or excitement or the more desire that I wanted, in the external, what I found was that by being vulnerable and by sharing uncomfortable emotions, I actually got the intimacy and connection that 10-year-old boy really wanted all along, but was afraid to express. And not only that, but as soon as we got home, because when you're out of town and you're on vacation, it's like, oh, I'm not working, like, oh, we're spending more money, so a lot of fear around scarcity or lack comes up, right? It's like, ugh. Well, you get tight, but again, by even on the drive, processing those emotions, feeling and expressing those emotions, as soon as I got home, within an hour, 2 phone calls for 2 new business opportunities within an hour. So my takeaway it was like, oh my God, all I did was just feel these emotions, and I got the mo I wanted. I got the intimacy and the connection that I didn't even think, I thought I was good on, but it was way better, right? And financial opportunities. So the 2 things I desired most just happened because I created space in sitting in that discomfort and processing the lack of having those, clearing that out so that what I actually desired could come through and come in. And so, yeah, that was powerful. It just shows that a lot of times I think the reason we put these emotions in the drawer or don't have time to deal with it, it's like disowned parts of ourselves because we think that those emotions are us. We think that the shadow is us, but it just wants to move through us. It just wants to be acknowledged. It comes from that inner child. It's just I don't know how many of y'all have children or young siblings or whatnot. Children get emotional, because they haven't been conditioned that emotions are bad yet. So when they get over emotional, then they let you know it. I don't want to do that. Whatever. They throw a fit. Right? It's just like a stubbed toe, but about everything. And so, and the part that there's a part of that always lives inside of us. There's a part of you that no doubtably still feels a little bit like that child that you once knew, at least on a certain level, and just wants to be acknowledged and told that it's going to be okay, that it's going to pass, that I'm here, you're safe, you're loved, and you're enough. No one judges a newborn. And that's the same soul. So that may sit your well, Brandon, that sounds great, but how do I do that, right? Is that just a one-off? So I would encourage you, and I can share with you a process that that's come to help me feel and flow those emotions. It's just kind of a little check-off list, kind of just a process that you can go through. It takes maybe 5 minutes or less. And you can do it daily. You can do it anytime you feel that fear coming on and you feel that resistance